The stories presented in this video are real, but we have changed the characters' names and altered images to protect their identities. The creator of this video is not an investigative officer. These narratives have been sourced from various internet platforms. Our intent is not to accuse or target anyone in particular. Thank you for understanding.
Welcome to True Crime Stories Hub. Today we're going to examine yet another terrible situation. On July 16, 1982, Katrina Ashley Edlund was born. She was Vicky, her mother's youngest child. Katrina had a younger sister named Miranda and an elder brother named Chad. Katrina, her older sister, was an inspiration to Miranda as a child. Because she liked Katrina and aspired to be like her, Miranda frequently put on her clothes and applied her cosmetics. Katrina and Miranda grew close throughout the years, becoming more like best friends than sisters. Katrina lived with her mother after her parents divorced when she was a little child. Katrina grew up outside of the city in the bedroom neighborhood of McChesney Park, Illinois. According to many who knew her, Katrina was a fun-loving, compassionate person. Katrina loved delivering humorous gifts to her friends and family, and she especially loved the holiday season. Katrina was generally quite content and quite active in her church. She was eager to lend her time to anyone in need and had a great desire to serve people. Despite her happiness, Katrina still longed for love and thought she had found her Prince Charming when she met Todd Smith at a pub when she was 20 years old. Todd has 3 daughters and was a prosperous financial advisor who operated his own company from home. The pair got along well despite their differences, and Todd's flexible work schedule allowed them to take several trips. When Todd asked Katrina to marry him after 3 years of dating, she gladly accepted. Intimate ceremony was arranged in a nearby park, and Katrina was thrilled about their future together. She was excited to start a successful future with Todd and cherished her stepdaughters. In addition, Todd was adored and regarded as a wonderful man by Katrina's mother, Vicky, and her siblings, Chad and Miranda. They thought the two were a good fit and trusted him to look after Katrina. After getting married, Katrina and Todd made McChesney Park their home and started a family. 30-year-old Katrina Smith called her mother, Vicky, on October 20, 2012, to inform her that she was watching a friend's house. While they were talking, Katrina said she had something to tell her mother and would be stopping by for supper on October 24th. Vicky had a feeling that something was happening, but she wasn't certain what it might be. Vicky promised to prepare Katrina's favorite meal, chicken and dumplings, before she hung up. But she would never get around to making that commitment. Vicky would never see Katrina again when she vanished a few days after that phone conversation. 5 p.m. Todd Smith reported his wife Katrina Smith's abduction to 911 on October 23rd. Todd told the dispatcher he hadn't been able to get in touch with Katrina for hours since she was house-sitting for a friend. He claimed that when he drove to her lodging, the place was deserted. When Katrina went missing, her brother and sister, Chad and Miranda, got worried. Chad was undergoing U.S. training. As soon as possible, the Army in Oklahoma traveled to Illinois to help find his sister. A local reported an abandoned car close to Rock River to the police on the evening of the 23rd. The resident claimed that the car was in an easement rather than on the side of the road, as though it had been hastily abandoned. When police came to look into the car, they ran the license plate and found that Katrina Smith was the owner. The policeman checked the vehicle and saw no evidence of Katrina or a struggle. Vicky, Katrina's mother, realized something had gone wrong with her daughter when she learned that her car had been discovered abandoned in a ditch on the side of the road in an unusual location. Vicky could think of no other reasonable explanation. Someone must have taken Katrina and put her car there if it was there. Following the discovery of Katrina's vehicle, the hunt for her grew more intense and her case was formally classified as missing. 11 p.m. Todd Smith was brought to the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department by the police on October 12th for a formal interview. Todd told the investigator during the interview that he hadn't seen his wife Katrina since October 22nd. According to Todd, Katrina came home briefly to do laundry because she had a significant job interview the next day. While doing the laundry, Todd told the investigator that Katrina had gone to the mall to make a purchase and had come home at 8:30 p.m. But according to Todd, Katrina hurried out of the house once again to go out one last time. According to Todd, Katrina told him she had to make one final trip before heading back to the house. She was watching a friend's house. Todd Smith appealed for his wife's safe return in the media the day after Katrina was listed as missing. Todd sobbed as he conveyed his intense wish to locate his wife Katrina in a heartbreaking and emotional plea. He made a public appeal, urging anyone with information regarding Katrina's location to come forward and provide it. The hunt for Katrina grew more intense as the hours went by, and squads of cops and volunteers devoted their time and energy to finding the missing woman. They concentrated their efforts on a park close to the location where Katrina's automobile had been left behind. The investigators anticipated that the area would hold any clues or evidence related to her disappearance. Everyone gathered at the park to look for Katrina when Chad, Katrina's brother, arrived in Illinois after his army training in Oklahoma. Chad assumed command of the search party by applying his military experience. He organized the people who had come to search for Katrina into teams and mapped and charted the area on a map. Chad made sure that a comprehensive search was carried out by getting people out looking. The officers stood side by side and walked in a straight line while using dogs to search the area. This strategy was employed to cover as much terrain as possible and make sure that no evidence, no matter how minor, was overlooked. In their search for Katrina, the officers took every effort to make sure they didn't miss anything. Throughout the community, Katrina's mother, Vicky, posted flyers seeking missing persons. She distributed these flyers to lampposts, convenience stores, and gas stations. Vicky's primary goal was to raise awareness of Katrina's absence and make sure that as many people as possible were aware of it. However, Vicky was unable to take part in the search because of her intense sadness and anxiety of discovering her daughter's body. Todd, Katrina's husband, remained emotional during this trying period. Reminding Todd that they must continue to concentrate on locating Katrina, Chad urged him to maintain his strength. Feeling terrible for his bereaved brother-in-law, he remained at Todd's side the entire time. The location of Katrina's car was where an officer recovered her purse, and farther down the road from the car, he located more of her belongings. They had her cell phone and what looked like blood-cleaning towels. As they walked away from Katrina's abandoned car, it became evident that someone had been getting rid of her stuff. Regretfully, the cops were clueless about Katrina's location at that time, but they had a suspicion that she had suffered a negative event. The police eagerly anticipated the findings of their inquiry after the objects discovered on the side of the road were tested at the crime lab. Meanwhile, Katrina's absence was being investigated by the police, who were looking for any clues in her personal life. The cops' goal as they dug deeper into Katrina's missing inquiry was to fully comprehend every aspect of her life. This research entailed carefully recording Katrina's everyday actions, looking into any possible involvement in gambling or drug use, and determining whether she had any relationships outside of her marriage. To obtain this vital information, the cops conducted in-depth interviews with Katrina's friends and relatives. Together, these people characterized Katrina as a good-natured, responsible person who always put her duties first and abstained from any dubious behavior. According to Katrina's family, she was well known for her commitment to her job and her strong work ethic. They testified that she never showed any indications of addiction or carelessness. Indeed, they characterized her as a devoted wife and a diligent worker who never wavered in her moral principles. A woman gave a fascinating suggestion during the Katrina search. This woman claims that on the night of Katrina's disappearance, she saw a blue car that matched Katrina's car stop on a bridge over Rock River. She could see someone squatting behind the car, and the trunk was open. The woman could not, however, provide any specific information, including the individual's race or gender. The police started to think that Katrina might have gotten into the river by foul play after the woman came forward and told them about the incident. They still lacked hard data to back up their notion, though. Officers were aware that more research was necessary to determine whether someone had a reason to hurt Katrina. Even though Katrina and her husband, Todd, were said to be happily married, Todd continued to be a topic of discussion. Because there was always a chance that there may be secrets or hidden issues in the marriage, the authorities were skeptical. The police got information that helped them identify a suspect as they continued their investigation into Katrina's disappearance. They found out that a boy in the community was obsessed with Katrina. When Katrina told her friends earlier in the year about a teenage boy from her church who showed signs of an unhealthy obsession with her, this preoccupation began. It was claimed that the boy had engaged in voyeurism, specifically spying on Katrina via the window of her bedroom. Because of the teen's actions, Katrina became more anxious during this period. However, after the adolescent moved away for college, the peeping ultimately stopped. The cops were concerned and questioned whether the teen had gone back to his house and started stalking Katrina again. They therefore expended a lot of resources trying to find him. Her cell phone, which was analyzed at the crime lab 3 days into the Katrina hunt, provided important hints. For the investigating cops, the phone proved to be a goldmine of information. They learned important information about Katrina's text messages, arriving and outgoing calls, photos, movies, and even her GPS location by looking into her cell phone. The authorities were able to piece together a more comprehensive picture of Katrina's activities because of the copious amounts of information that were provided by her phone data. For example, they found out that she was having an affair with Guy Gabriel, a co-worker. Katrina and Guy Gabriel's romance started out innocently enough. They clicked right away when they first met one evening after work. As their bond deepened, they developed a romantic relationship. But a darker aspect was discovered when the detective checked Guy Gabriel's past. Guy Gabriel has a history of domestic violence, the officers found out. Additionally, the investigators discovered text messages that Guy Gabriel had sent to Katrina, requesting that she leave her husband Todd for him. Guy Gabriel was the main suspect in Katrina's disappearance due to his violent past and the letters he sent her. The authorities believed that Guy Gabriel may have responded aggressively because he was upset that Katrina had not left her husband for him. The revelation that Katrina had been having an affair with Todd shocked her family to their core. For a long time, everyone thought that Katrina and Todd were the perfect example of a happy couple. Everyone was shocked and incredulous to learn that Katrina had committed such treachery. Todd was devastated since he was unaware of his wife's adultery until the police inquiry made it public. He was devastated to learn that his wife had cheated on him. Guy Gabriel had a formal interview at the police department with the officers looking into Katrina's disappearance. Guy admitted to having an affair with Katrina, but he seemed anxious during the interview. Guy, however, denied any connection to Katrina's disappearance. Guy claims that the night Katrina vanished, he was at work. The police discovered an incident that happened 2 weeks prior to Katrina's disappearance while they were looking into her affair with her co-worker, Guy Gabriel. At the car business where Katrina and Guy worked, witnesses told the police that it was midday when a black Volkswagen Jetta drove through the parking lot while everyone was standing outside speaking. A stack of flyers was thrown through the open sunroof of the car by the masked driver. As the staff assembled outside, these papers dropped from the sky and landed at everyone's feet. The workers grabbed up the documents as the car drove off, claiming they were flyers that made disparaging remarks about Katrina and Guy Gabriel's relationship. But nobody was aware of the identity of the VW Jetta's driver. When Katrina's hairstylist was questioned by the police, she disclosed that Katrina had told her that she felt threatened and that she wanted to buy a gun to defend herself. Katrina had gone to a retailer to get her phone checked for a tracking device after expressing worries that someone was following her. Crime scene investigators searched Katrina's vehicle for evidence at the police garage. Luminol, a chemical substance that combines with blood to produce a brilliant light, was one of the techniques the investigators used. The luminol showed that Katrina's car's trunk had a sizable amount of blood. The front seat of Katrina's vehicle became the focus of the investigators' attention. Their suspicions were confirmed when they sprayed luminol once more and saw further blood streaks. Additionally, when the detectives looked into Katrina's car's underbelly, they found pieces of a GPS tracker. It was determined through investigation and analysis that Katrina's blood was in the vehicle. The cops reached a concerning conclusion as a result of this confirmation and the amount of blood discovered. They were persuaded that Katrina might not be alive by the volume of blood discovered. An off-duty firefighter on Rock River called the police department 18 days after Katrina vanished. While fishing, this firefighter noticed something in the river that he believed had been snatched by a log. But when he pulled his boat up to get a better look, he saw that it was a body. When the fire crew arrived to retrieve the body from the water, they found that it belonged to a woman. However, because the body had decomposed so much, it was originally challenging to identify it. They couldn't tell if it was Katrina Smith. After that, the body was taken to the medical examiner's office, where an autopsy was conducted by the staff to ascertain the cause of death. A county dental specialist was given dental records to identify the remains. The expert determined that the body recovered from the river was, in fact, that of Katrina Smith after comparing the teeth found in the body to those in Katrina Smith's records. Blunt force trauma to the head was identified as Katrina's cause of death. Katrina's family members sobbed when they discovered that her body had been discovered and that she had been killed by blunt force trauma to her skull. Their emotions overcame them as they comprehended the enormity of what had transpired, and this news was terrible. When Katrina's mother, Vicky, learned of the news, she was shocked. Vicky could not bear the thought that her daughter had been severely beaten in the head. After confirming his alibi that he was on campus at his college at the time of Katrina's disappearance and murder, officers apprehended the juvenile male who had supposedly been stalking Katrina and exonerated him as a suspect. After this confirmation ruled him out as a potential suspect, the authorities focused on Guy Gabriel, Katrina's boyfriend outside of marriage. Guy Gabriel claimed to have a plan for the night Katrina vanished. "I had been at work during that time," he said. Guy's managers gave their time card, which attested to Guy's attendance at work that evening, as evidence for his allegation. Guy's alibi was also supported by a number of co-workers who claimed to have seen him at work. Police no longer suspected Guy Gabriel of being involved in Katrina's disappearance and death once his alibi was verified. The police wanted Guy Gabriel's opinion on who might have harmed Katrina, even though he was no longer a suspect. Guy revealed that Katrina's husband, Todd, encouraged her to quit her marriage because he was controlling. He thought Todd's domineering behavior might have gotten out of hand and resulted in injuries. Several troubling details surfaced as authorities investigated Katrina's marriage to Todd Smith. First, it was found that Katrina had told multiple persons she wanted to divorce Todd. In addition, Katrina's meeting with a divorce lawyer the day before her disappearance was verified by the authorities. The detectives found that Katrina had moved in after she and Todd split up, even though she claimed to be house-sitting at a friend's condo. The authorities suspected Todd of being responsible for the enigmatic flyer incident at Katrina's workplace after obtaining information and interviewing people. When authorities learned that Todd had test-driven a black VW Jetta that was identical in model and color to the vehicle used in the flyer incident, their suspicions were confirmed. Since Todd allegedly took the test drive around the time of the incident, the timing of these occurrences further raised suspicions. Katrina's family was horrified and incredulous when the police told them that Todd was not just the main suspect in her murder, but that he was already in detention. Todd had been more than just an in-law to them. They had loved and admired him. Everyone was devastated by the news. Vicky, Katrina's mother, was especially impacted. She became violently ill after realizing that her daughter's husband might be accountable for her murder. She could not believe Todd could have committed such a heinous act. Vicky had never considered the possibility that Todd may be guilty of such a horrible crime because she had always respected and trusted him. Information about Todd's financial status was given to the police after it was discovered that his financial investment company was having legal issues. Since Todd was unemployed, Katrina was the family's primary provider. Officers came up with the hypothesis that the money would accompany Katrina if she left, along with Todd and his girls. Todd might have thought about killing his wife in order to obtain those monies after coming to this knowledge. The police secured a search warrant for Todd and Katrina's home in order to collect evidence. Investigators discovered a baseball in a garage nook while conducting the search. They examined the bat more closely and found blood traces on it. They came to the conclusion that it might be the weapon that killed Katrina as a result of this discovery. She had suffered blunt force trauma, which was consistent with being struck by a bat. To validate their concerns, the detectives tested the bat's DNA. This study strengthened the connection between the murder weapon and the victim by confirming that Katrina's blood was on the bat. The inspectors also discovered a sizable space beneath the vehicle that had been thoroughly cleaned. They looked into it more and found that the bloodstains beneath the car matched Katrina's DNA. Todd Smith, Katrina Smith's husband, was taken into custody and charged with her murder 30 days after Katrina was killed. Her family was relieved when he was arrested. In 2017, Todd's trial started on January 11th. The state vividly described the night of Katrina's murder in order to make its case to the jurors. It was disclosed that Katrina had lately discussed her marital issues with a divorce lawyer. The prosecution used this conversation as a springboard, claiming that Katrina's choice to seek legal counsel revealed a strained relationship. The state claims that Katrina had gone to Todd's house to wash laundry so she might be ready for a job interview the next morning. The prosecution said that Katrina had made it apparent to Todd during her visit that their marriage was genuinely gone. They contended that Todd reacted violently as a result of this revelation. According to the state, Todd became enraged and snatched a baseball bat as Katrina was in the garage, ruthlessly beating her to death. Todd allegedly moved Katrina into the trunk of her car after ensuring her lifeless body. After that, he drove to Rock River, a desolate area. It was there that he threw her body off a neighboring bridge. Todd left her car on the side of the road after Katrina's body was disposed of. He threw away her mobile phone and the bloodied towels he had used to clean the garage as he made his way back home to remove any remaining evidence. Todd was convicted by jurors and given a 55-year prison term.